I'll go into description as to the effect of what the occultic studies could do for athletes of any particular sort or any field or any sport, especially for those of whom are MMA or boxing or anything that has to do with fighting. The premise of egregores and the fact of having them introduced into your subconscious is that they're sort of like instructors. First, I would begin a removal process whenever it comes to the idea of teaching other fighters. Now, granted, this is coming from a guy that's unranked and has not really stepped into the ring competitively at all. So, purification, fasting, shit like that, concerning cleaning up your subconscious of any other limited spirits or limiting spirits in which pretty much hinder you and say you can't do it or are the insecurities in which you possess. Especially, I'll be focusing on clearing those out. And then I'll go ahead and introduce those into your subconscious. I would say if you're focusing on or doing studies, especially book-wise, concerning any historical figures, such as like Alexander the Great and all of them, very much similar to how Mike Tyson used to do it. What people don't know is that whenever you read into the writings of others, you pretty much are opening yourself up to their spirit of influence, and which they start influencing your development concerning the mental faculties and how you are predisposed to the outcomes of the world, and especially the means of which you respond. And the use of the crowd during MMA and boxing is very fucking important. If you can use the crowd to your advantage, a lot of things will start to happen. And I'll use an example from Navy SEALs Buds in which I pretty much seen. Is that if there's one guy on the team that's always helping others out and always gifting some of his energy unto them while as they're fucking literally going through hell and back in order to get through that fucking Buds Hell Week, the idea is this, is that if you can help the weakest member of your team and reciprocate some of that energy and pretty much, get them out of that bullshit mindset, then that energy in which they got wouldn't spread to the rest of the team, okay? So the idea of aiding a particular individual, which is having that sort of dilemma, is so that way it keeps it from spreading like the goddamn plague. Well, that's just the way the crowd can be used, is that if you're a name that's worthy or a name that's very much crowd worthy, and you have them chanting your name, you get a second wind. Just like if there was your fucking team leader on Bud's Hell Week that gave you a pep talk saying, "We're fucking Navy SEALs, cocksucker. Let's lift this boat because these fucking instructors ain't gonna stop us for shit." And then you fucking hoist that boat up like it's your first fucking rep. And the idea of spirit is that it's a hidden reservoir of energy in which it can be tapped into through either interactions with other people or through ourselves, in which we're able to share with other people, and then it bounces back to us. It turns into a bounce back effect, in which it pretty much starts building momentum and then building upwards as we go along. Essentially, the whole basis of what I would do for training an individual, especially, is that I would grab the weakest individual. I would grab the one in which has the most things to improve, because I'm going to be working on their mental faculties. I'm going to be working on their spirit. Reason why is because everything that starts and begins with spirit is going to topple down into mind, and what topples down in mind is going to topple down into body. And since it begins and ends in spirit, that's exactly what I'll be focusing on. Because the weakest individual that has always been looked down upon throughout his entire life, and yet has never used his anger to lash out. And I'm talking about those motherfuckers in which, just do crazy, fucked up shit because they've been pretty much always looked down upon their entire lives. I'd be choosing that individual because their spirit hasn't failed. Their spirit kept them going and kept them breathing every fucking day, even though they're always seen as the fucking weakest amongst the bunch. I'll have the rest of it in the description below. That way I can include some more measures of which I didn't include in the vid. And for those of which are interested in other sports, absolutely this can be done for not just sports in general. It could be done for everything, anything of which you want. It can back up your craft, and your craft can back up what the fuck you're doing. So let this be included and let this be stated.